The MGMA Leaders Conference has been one of my favorites for a long time. But as the meaningful use days get further and further behind us, I found that the event just didn't have the same energy as it once did. That's why I was super excited when I heard that MGMA is taking a different approach to this year's event. They're looking to expand to a wider audience, and they're implementing a lot of new activities and changes that are designed to improve both the attendee and the vendor experience. We reached out to MGMA, and they agreed to come on camera with us to talk about the 2023 Leaders Conference coming up in Nashville on October 22nd to the 25th. Hello and welcome to Swaay.Health, where we bring you the latest insights and interesting stories from the brightest minds in healthcare marketing. I'm Colin Hung, and joining me today is Andy Swanson, Senior Vice President of Product Strategy and Sales at MGMA. I asked Andy to explain their new approach, what specific changes we can expect to see at this year's conference, and in particular, what are they doing differently for vendors at this year's event. So get ready to be inspired, learn some new tricks, and take your marketing game to the next level. Let's jump right in. Andy, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Colin. It's good to see you again.
It is good to see you too. And I'm excited. I mean, I really can't believe it's this time of year already, but I'm excited because the MGMA Leadership Conference is coming up, and I'm going to get a preview from you about some of the changes that have been happening to that conference. So I'm excited about that today.
Yeah, we're excited to share. A long time ago, this used to be MGMA's annual conference. And a couple of years ago, we rebranded as the Leaders Conference. So we're looking to build on that brand and make sure that we really bring it to life. So I'm happy to talk about it with you today.
And we were joking just before we started that I still call it the MGMA Annual Conference. So I will endeavor to make sure I call it by its proper name.
Thanks.
So now, before we dive into that, though, can you maybe give for our audience just a quick overview of MGMA and the organization itself?
Yeah, sure. So outside the conference, we endeavor to provide all kinds of different resources, solutions, things like advocacy, different products and services to anybody in the medical group practice space. So really, we're here for the betterment of the industry at large. And I don't mean the large healthcare industry that we often hear about, but specifically those who are leading and running and providing care in medical practices. So that could be a small independent practice with one or two physicians, and it could be the biggest aggregated integrated delivery systems in the country, where we've got thousands of providers providing care to tens and hundreds of thousands of people across the country. So anything in between, as long as you're running medical practice, you've got physicians and clinicians providing care, MGMA can offer products and services to make that easier and more streamlined for you and help not only your organization, but obviously offer better care and support to the patients that you're serving every day.
And by products and services, just to get specific there, I mean, you guys offer quite a lot of stuff. You have a lot of reporting, a lot of data, certainly have education, and then the conferences that you put on throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole host of resources, right? So, anything from our website content to the magazine we publish on a quarterly basis. We report every year on some of the most major data and findings that you were alluding to. Obviously, provider compensation and specifically physician compensation is huge and relevant as we talk about fair market value, but other data too about the costs and revenue streams that come into a medical group and how we manage costs and cost structures to provide the efficiency we need to run profitable organizations, all the way down to, all sorts of learning environments, online, virtual, face-to-face in conferences, and everything in between. So we really do try to endeavor to provide resources where people need them, and meet people, where they want. Coming out of the pandemic, I know a lot of associations really stuck more to kind of continue to provide the virtual resources that people need, understandably so. But what we found is that people do want to convene. They want to get together to share ideas. They want to talk to solution providers. They want to talk to others who are doing different things in their medical groups. And sometimes a face-to-face conversation is just the best way to do that. And so that's what we're trying to do with Leaders Conference, among other objectives.
Yeah, let's talk about that in more detail. So the MGMA Leaders Conference, which used to be the annual conference,
Mhm.
is one of my favorites to go to. It's smaller, intimate, and it focuses on an area of healthcare that, frankly, doesn't get a lot of attention or enough attention, which is the practice side of things. But you're taking a different approach to the conference this year. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. I'll try to keep it brief, but essentially what we're trying to do is elevate the content and elevate the conversation to be really relevant to any leader in that medical group space. What I mean by leader is I can be a functional leader of a billing department, or I could be a medical director over a few different sites and providers there. The way I approach my job certainly has functional expertise next to it, meaning the billing manager needs to understand the revenue cycle and all the things that flow in and out of that and create the processes and efficiencies to run an effective finance department versus the physician who's leading a group of physicians, making sure that the care that they're providing is appropriate from a clinical quality perspective, but also from a business perspective. However, both of those two leaders have the same outcomes in mind, providing great care, making sure that the patients are well taken care of, making sure we have access for all the patients that we need to see, and making sure that our enterprise runs profitably. So whether you're a physician in a leadership role, or in this case, a billing manager in a finance role, the outcome of leadership is the same. And so what MGMA is trying to do is create education, conversations, environments for these people to meet both with their own people. So get the physician leaders talking to the physician leaders, get the billing leaders talking to the billing leaders, but also together getting all these cross-functional leaders across a medical group together to talk about how do we work collectively, the provider and the financial leader in this example, across functional silos that have historically been problematic to overcome inside of a medical group and work together to achieve those outcomes that I was just mentioning. So if MGMA is here to help people accomplish those greater outcomes, how do we kind of break silos, functional silos down, provide them that which they need, but then work together to get at those outcomes?
So it sounds like to me you're really trying to move beyond just the medical director. I mean, not that your conference was always just focused on that, but certainly that's who it attracted, right? It was the medical director, the person overseeing all of the clinics. What I'm hearing is that it's any leaders, not just that one particular title. It's the physician leader, it's the billing leader, and it's any other leader in that organization. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I mean, historically, certainly the practice administrator, right, would be the target audience. But I don't know a practice administrator today, except maybe in the smallest of small practices, who isn't reliant on their IT partner, who isn't reliant on their HR leader, who isn't reliant on their marketing leader to help get referrals and new patients. So in the way that medical groups work today, everybody's integrated inside of their own function or inside of their own group because they can't operate in a silo. It's impossible. So what we've just tried to do is build the environment that reflects that, right? So come one, come all. If you wear the moniker of leader, then you belong. And then we have to work together on how do we make you the most effective leader personally, but then how do you deliver that leadership into your enterprise to make it its most exceptional organization, right?
So, how will this new approach and some of these changes be manifesting in this year's conference? So what can we expect as attendees or as exhibitors that is going to be a little bit different?
Yeah. So, I mean, it starts with the content, right? So anytime you walk into a room where you're seeing somebody on stage, right? That's the edict we've given them is to elevate the content so that we're not talking about the micro learning, of a biller or a coder and making sure that they code the right way or the process is working the right way. But really, if we're talking about the technology that makes a revenue cycle run, let's elevate the conversation to talk about what are the broken processes that a technology solution in the revenue cycle fixes so that, again, we can get to those, preeminent or macro outcomes that an organization is talking about. So content would be the first. You'll still see sessions, right? And session leaders, although obviously we're trying to make this more dialogue based. And so you'll see a lot more sessions with panels and discussion groups and that sort of thing. And we're taking that learning outside of the quote unquote classroom and putting it back into the hands of the attendees. So the other thing we're doing is creating facilitated dialogues, what we call resource groups, where you have affinity groups, people of a certain type in a medical practice. It could be administrators, or it could be clinicians. It could also be split differently by demographic. It could be independent practices versus integrated delivery systems. It could be functional conversations or specialty driven conversations. A lot of different ways to slice and dice the people who are going to be there. And it's self-driven, meaning attendees get to choose the resource group that looks like them. Hey, I happen to be in a cardiology practice. I happen to be the administrative leader of said cardiology practice, but I really care a lot about the finance function right now. So pick your favorite resource group, go to a few different ones that pique your interest. And so it then contribute to the conversation, right? So these are not leader-led groups. These are self-driven groups that we're going to, pair together in a meeting and kick out some ideas for topics of conversation, and let the audience drive the things that are most challenging to them, and hear from their peers about what they're doing to solve those problems. So those would be a couple of different things. Obviously, the ways to intersect with our vendors is getting smarter and smarter and more catered and more directive. So whether it's one-on-one meetups and scheduling those sorts of things, to a hosted buyer program where we've got close to 100 people coming specifically to engage with our vendor contacts. They are either in a buying cycle, or they're looking for particular solutions to be integrating into their current environments. And so we're really trying to do a better job of catering the experience of attendees and our vendor partners together, so that really both sides are getting out of that interaction what they want and what they need. Those are just a few of the things that we're doing differently to really elevate kind of into this leader space.
And just to dive in on that one topic for a moment, just because our audience obviously has a lot of folks who are from the vendor side of the community, the buyer aspect of it, can you tell us a little bit more about that in terms of what you said there? It sounded like you said a one-on-one meeting style is going to be part of the Leaders Conference, and this matching that you're going to be doing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're not new to the game of a hosted buyer experience, right? I mean, there's other conferences out there who are doing these things, but I think what's different a little bit about the MGMA experience is we're saying, hey, listen, we're vetting the medical group executive, the decision maker, right, on the attendee side. And we're saying, hey, listen, we've got a plethora of people for you to talk to. What are the type of solutions that are really going to be impactful for you in the upcoming year? And giving them a variety of options, and then saying to the vendor partner, hey, listen, these 7, 8, 9 people who are going to come talk to you are really keenly, first, they're decision makers. And second, they're really keenly interested in talking about the solutions to improve their business. So don't come and just pitch your product. Come and talk about the ways your solution is really driving outcomes, because you're going to be talking to another leader of a medical group. So if you don't have a peer client or 2 or 6 or 16 examples that can really show the value your solution can provide to that medical group executive, that's not going to be a win-win conversation for either one. So I think we're really doing a better job of coaching the attendee on what to expect and what to bring to the table as it relates to their buying decision criteria, and what the solution they need is going to provide. And then vice versa, talking to the vendor side and saying, hey, listen, they don't want to be pitched a product. They want to be pitched solutions, and they're willing to pay as long as the value equation is right for that medical group. So I think it's a little bit in the preparation and the matching that we're doing that's a little different.
What are you hoping that attendees or exhibitors will say after this year's conference?
Yeah. Well, what I really hope is I can't wait to see you next year, right? I mean, that would be the best. And I think what will cause people to do that is the embodiment of a new type of conversation. And we all go to these events across the industry, from time to time across a calendar year. And we're a little bit jaded, right? That we get together, we see some old friends, we meet some new ones, but a lot of times we talk about some of the same issues, right? And what I would like to see is that the Leaders Conference becomes a place where we have a different conversation. We talk about different challenges. And while they seem on their surface maybe a little bit more rote or remedial, this problem or challenge of leadership today, I think when you dig into the covers, if you peel that onion back a bit, we find that actually becomes the primary conversation of how to solve some of these challenges that we're in. And that's what I hope comes out of this, is attendees say, hey, you know what? That conversation was different. It really got at the heart of what some of the challenges I'm experiencing are. And better than that, not only did we talk about it, but I got some different ideas about how to approach these situations inside my medical practice than I have before. And boy, that was hugely valuable. So much so that I would want to come back and have that conversation or a variation on that conversation next year at this event.
Andy, where can people go to find out more about MGMA and the annual Leaders Conference?
Just hit mgma.com, Colin. We're, the Leaders Conference is obviously widely advertised right now. We're 7 weeks out from the event, starting that Sunday, October 19th. And registration is certainly wide open. We're in Nashville this year, which is an amazing place to be and a great time to be there. We're having good luck with registration. Our face-to-face conferences have bounced back quite a bit from the COVID times. In fact, we're nearing selling out on our hotels right now. So we're excited for everybody to really jump on the train. It seems like the industry is excited to be back together with us too.
I look forward to seeing you in Nashville then, Andy.
I'm looking forward to it too, Colin. I hope everybody, listening to Swaay.Health is interested, and we've piqued their interest. Definitely mgma.com to get more information. We look forward to seeing you in Nashville.
Andy, thank you so much for sharing the information you did today, and thanks for being on the program.
Thanks, Colin. It's always great to talk with you.
I want to thank Andy for spending time with me today and for giving us a sneak peek into what we can expect at the 2023 MGMA Leaders Conference. My key takeaways is that the organization is putting a lot of effort into broadening the appeal of the conference to include leaders, not only the practice administrators, but across the different areas of a practice. At the same time, they're working to make the conference more valuable for vendors with the introduction of new activities like the hosted buyer program. I'm certainly excited to see these changes in Nashville in a few weeks. And hey, if you enjoyed this interview as much as I did, please like and subscribe. Also, head on over to Swaay.Health. That's Swaay with 2 A's, .health. That's where you'll find more great content like this. I'm Colin Hung. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you on the next video.